Welcome to the Heart-Centered Entrepreneur Podcast. I want you to be rich. Yes, I want abundant financial success for your business. But I don't just care about your business making money. I care about you too. I want you to be rich in happiness, in the impact you make, in your relationships, and in how you give back. I'm Anna. I built my six-figure business as a side hustle while I was pregnant with my daughter in 2016. Now I've helped dozens of women do the same. I'm here to help you build a profitable, heart-centered, fully booked business with the latest tips on sales and visibility, with proven mindset hacks, and sneak peeks behind the scenes with what's working right now in the online space and in my business. Ready to make more money with heart? Let's go. Friends, I am so excited to chat with Marissa Axell of Action Fitness and Coaching. She is not new to the podcast. I have invited her back just because I feel like her story, her message, her passion is so timely right now in 2025, and you'll hear more why. But I'm just so grateful for her. She is a client, she is a friend, she is an inspiration, she is a thought leader in our online space. Welcome, Marissa.
Hi, thanks for having me back.
Yay. Okay. So if someone's meeting you for the first time, maybe let's just start with a little bit about your journey to cycling and anything else.
Yeah, well, gosh, ages, how long do you have? I'm just kidding. I started off my cycling career as honestly, I discovered it through becoming a triathlete and doing the act of cycling and discovered my love for it. But before that, I kind of was already coaching from as a high schooler, coaching, youngsters to at that time I was coaching triathletes in the pool and was also a triathlete. And so that's how I discovered cycling and really discovered and kind of married it to my love of coaching people physically, like in the pool and then on the bike. And, fast forward to almost 20 years later, we're here and 2025. But I will say in 2020, even before COVID kind of stopped the whole world, I had launched or relaunched Action Fitness and Coaching as a online coaching, like cycling coaching program. And I really went when COVID did kind of force the shutdown, I really leaned into my biggest, I want to say, passion, which was really helping women like me who are over 40 athletes who are kind of struggling with perimenopause, menopause symptoms, and really wanting to not have to hang up our bike. We wanted to keep going and keep, personally, I wanted to keep racing and I wanted to keep going on adventures. And I know that there's more women like that out there. And so that's when I really pivoted to focusing exclusively on helping women over 40, continuing to ride faster if they want to go farther. Tons of different cycling events were kind of coming to the fore because during the COVID shutdown, cycling was one of the big things that boomed because it was outside and you were able to still sort of see people. And so that was, I'd say, a happy accident of circumstance, but I was already in the cycling space, coaching people. So that is really my big thing, is helping women over 40 really continue to find success with their cycling. And maybe you're a bike packer doing a 7-day bike packing trip through the Italian Alps, right? Or maybe you're doing your first gravel race for the first time. I'm here to really help women who have a solid understanding of cycling and they're not totally brand new beginners, but they are stuck as to what to do next and why are they seeing their friends succeed or their especially their male cycling friends succeed while they're doing the same training and not succeeding. So I really wanted to fill that space personally for myself, but then also share all of that information with them. And that's really what launched what I'm doing currently.
I love that so much. What makes me smile when you're talking to is I love that you serve ambitious women, like women that want to be the best at what they do and that you don't one of my favorite things about working with you, Marissa, is behind the scenes. Whenever I coach you, I smile because whether you're having a good day or a hard day, you have this drive about you and it's so infectious. And I bet your clients have that same quality, right? Where it's when they're doing great in their cycling, when they're maybe having a hard perimenopause week, right?
Yeah.
That there's just something. What do you think? Do you think that some women are just born with that fire? Do you think that they find that fire? Where do you think that ambition comes from?
That is such a good question. I would say personally, I think I was born with it. Like it was something that I had always, my parents told me like I'd already had as a kid. Like I was always reaching for the next rung, you know? And I think that, I know it's so cute. And I think that that is just something that's always kind of internally driven me personally. And I think so. I find a lot of people are attracted to cycling because it can be so solitary and such a personal way to push yourself. And so I think it does attract those people like me who are really internally motivated to achieve that next personal best or that next adventure or that next new thing they haven't tried yet. And so I think that all already gravitates like some very ambitious people. But then we also get a really great social connection through cycling as well. Yeah,
Yes.
and so that really scratches that social itch, which a lot of us struggle with as we get older because maybe we're
Yes.
moms, maybe we're taking care of our parents, maybe we have, we have kids, we have parents, we have our own businesses or your own careers. And, all of a sudden your wants and desires kind of get left by the wayside. And I really think
Yes.
that cycling can serve that purpose in so many like multiple different ways, right? We have a social group and a lot of women are reaching for more women to join that group. Like I'm personally right now, like trying to build more women at the velodrome that I'm part of, right? So I'm literally reaching out to people I know and being like, "Can you come? Can you come race this week?"
Yes. Yes.
So, and then when I have riders who are great riders, but they're like, "I don't have any women friends to ride with." We really brainstorm around that. How can I personally reach out to more people in my area to connect with them. So I really think that's a big piece of the puzzle that we don't focus enough on, and it is lost us along. What do I say? Lost along the way at times because we're busy, And so I
Yeah.
think that because we're cycling, you can make a date to meet up with your friends and do training towards your big event, but also with your community. And I think those two things are equally important in this day and age.
It really is. I think also especially because I think during COVID, people like expected things to be hard. And I think they were a little bit, but I actually think in some ways times are harder now,
Mhm.
obviously politically, right? Obviously in like so many ways. But I think that we need community more than ever. And maybe this is some of my thoughts. Maybe you can share your thoughts too. But I think I realized after my divorce that men have such an easy time spending money and time and energy on their hobbies,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Whether it's, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. I love men that do that great, right? Like spending a ton of time and money hunting, spending a
Mhm.
ton of time and money golfing, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's very normalized, right? But I
Yeah.
realized suddenly for me, when I was starting to spend just a little bit of time and money on little hobbies like dance, right?
Yeah.
Something that's quote unproductive on the outside. Now, sure, I could say like I'm getting exercise, blah, 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 right? But for me, when I started shifting as a woman and realizing that it's safe for me to spend not just a little bit of money, but like a lot of money,
Yeah.
like thousands and thousands of dollars a year on a hobby,
Mhm.
tons of hours,
Yeah.
right? Like 10 plus hours a week on this, right? Like it's safe for me. Like, and I went from feeling guilty spending it to be like, oh my God, that's the best use of my time. Like, if I'm just gonna die at the end of it all,
Yeah.
like, why not spend all of the time and money I can on the thing that makes me happy, that keeps me physically healthy, that connects me with humans I love? Like,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on all that?
100% in agreement. And I think that, you know, I like to say, like, you're either going to invest it now, right? In ways that you want to, where for me, it's cycling, right? And we have bikes, you have the kit you wear when you bike, you have all of the equipment that goes around the bikes. And then if you're traveling to go do your bike, right?
Yep.
Like, so that dollar investment is in your health, right? Because you're
Yes.
physically fit, your mental health, because you're out in nature, you're, enjoying I want to say, it's almost like the green bathing effect, but like you're out in nature, your eyes are seeing the blue
Oh,
sky, you're seeing the green of the trees, you're seeing the blue of the ocean if you're near water, right? All of those things physically interact with your brain to decrease your stress. And so you can invest that time and money now doing something you love, like dance
yep.
or cycling or whatever, Or you, on the other side, are going to be forced to do it by, spending time in a hospital, taking
Yes.
lots of drugs and spending your money in that fun way, right? Those
Yep.
things aren't fun. You don't get to decide those, right? Because that's the other side of not doing it now, not taking care of yourself now. And I think that that is such a thing that, of course, big pharma wants you to go that way, right? But
Yes.
we as
Yes.
women, I think we need to recognize that we have a certain amount of, I don't know what the word is, but like we're kind of left behind in that discussion of take care of your health, take care of your fitness because you're expected to take care of everybody else. And
Yes.
so I love to say to my clients, like gently push back and say, okay, I understand that you work 8, 10 hours a day nonstop, but could you lock yourself in the bathroom for 5 minutes and eat a meal?
Yep.
Like it is at that point for some people that they don't
Yep.
recognize that their habits are really detrimental to their overall well-being.
Yes.
And so it is kind of holding a mirror up to say, like, okay, I understand that your job is very important, but you cannot do your job if you're not eating and drinking, if you're not
Oh,
taking care of yourself. And so that extended, out to could you invest in the things that you love to do now and be healthy by pedaling a bicycle somewhere that is beautiful, right? Spend that time with your friends or your family or your loved ones that you want to spend time with. And all of that is going to decrease your overall mental and physical stress. And so those pieces now are going to save you a lot of heartache and time and energy later. And that I think is just left behind because we're, in our culture where we just reward like work harder, don't have downtime, push, push, push. And and I honestly think that like it's left a lot of the cultural, what I would say, the cultural attitudes is leaves a lot of holding families together to women, right? Or
yeah.
making sure you're taking care of parents and
Yeah.
or your partner's parents. A lot of that is just emotional labor that's left to women. And I think
Yeah.
that I politely but firmly push back on that and say you need to take care of yourself first and foremost before you take care of the rest of the world, including your children, including your parents. Like it's important to create that barrier or that boundary. Like we talk about boundaries all the time, but I really encourage my riders to set that boundary around their specific thing that they want to do, whether it's cycling, strength training, being with their friends on their bikes, like, but put those boundaries in place, or you're just never going to get around to it. So that is been life changing for so many of my clients. Oh my gosh, so many of my athletes are discovering new things about themselves. I have to say, like, one mountain biker who's a really busy mom, a really busy professional. She has 2 kids mountain biking. And so in the cycling world, in general in the United States, most high schools now have a mountain biking program, and I love that that's one area that I get a lot of riders coming to me being like, "I wanna keep up with my kids." And it's just like the most, yeah,
Wow.
but they're also like, "I have to shuttle my kids to the practice, then we have to do the practice, then we have to shuttle them home," right? And so it's figuring out, okay, well, where can we create some time for you around making sure your kids also get to practice and get what they need? So it has been just my success story with my rider. She has been working with us for not quite a year. Both of her kids are killing it, but also she is going to the trainings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I was like, she's like, it's actually too easy because I have to ride sweep and I never really get a workout. So then she's creating time for herself where she can get her workout in around, like, away from those times. And so now she went from like, I think I could maybe do this 25-mile ride. It's going to be a stretch to, and honestly, this whole time I've like, she's totally going to do the 50-mile ride. Like she's ready. And so now she's like,
Wow.
I think I can do the 50 miler. I was like, you're totally ready. So
Oh.
she's
Oh.
just setting new records. And yet she's still like, how can I get all of this done? I have kids, I have family, I have, my house is full of family from out of town. So it's really sitting down together and just carving out like, okay, well, if you have 15 minutes, let's fill it with this. And if you have an hour, let's do this. And, can you have your husband do X, Y, and Z so you can do this? And so it's kind of rethinking through what it means to have to hold the whole family up and when you can take time for yourself.
I am obsessed with this story. I'm obsessed with all of it. I love too, just like going back to that story of that mama, right? Is like
Yeah.
I think what stood out for me is like how cool too that as her kids grow and
Mhm.
age, they're going to start being inspired by their mom and being like, how
Totally.
do I keep up with my mom?
I
Right?
love
Like,
that.
ooh,
Mhm.
not like as a teen. And I just think, I think when, at least for me as a mom, like I used to think it's like, oh, I want my kids to, like me or whatever. And I think then you realize, like, okay, my kids aren't always going to be happy or like me. Like, that's not the point. My point is to make them a good human. Right.
Yeah.
But then I think we also forget that like one of the things we can do for our kids is inspire them
Mhm.
and live by example. And like I really think that like you said, like as we think about ourselves and what came out for me too is like these women that we're pushing in our career, we're pushing in our business, we're pushing in, right? I
Yeah.
think when I realized that like I think we think when we take time off, we think we have to like be lazy. And not that there's nothing wrong with like having a day watching Netflix or whatever. But ultimately, I find we like to be ambitious even in our hobbies, right?
Yes.
Like, and so I think when we find like, ooh, I can put some of that fun driving energy into me, into my hobby, into my outside of work, that can be really rewarding too.
Really rewarding. And that gets back to the hobby talk, which is now it's for your kids, right? Now it's
Yeah.
for the future of your family. And now, so investing that money and time and energy is no longer just, for for the dudes, right? It
Yeah.
is for you and for all of my women athletes to really kind of just stand up and say like no more. Like I need to be on my bike or doing my thing, from this time to this time. And then I'm investing in that, whether it's joining a gym and
Yeah.
hiring a personal trainer or hiring a dietitian to help me with my nutrition for a month or hiring a cycling coach to make sure I get to, doing my 50-mile mountain bike ride so that I'm not falling apart.
Yes.
But it's on the way, it's that journey that ends up translating to, honestly, like, a total transformation of your family life too.
Yes.
And that's where
Absolutely.
the magic is. And it's hard to, like, explain all of that because it's a long chain, but it is such a beautiful transformation, when people realize, like, "Oh, it's really not that hard to just, it's just day after day." And I think a lot of people can't conceptualize doing something day after day, but when you
Yes.
love doing it, you're like, "Of course." I mean, it's like brushing your teeth. Of course I'm gonna brush my teeth every day. Like, of
Yes.
course I'm gonna get on my bike every day because it's fun, it's part of me. And so, whatever that is for you, of course you're gonna dance every day because you
Yeah.
love it. And it's no longer a chore, it's your hobby and it's part of you. And so I just want, if I get up like every, woman athlete over 40, that's another thing is a lot of people do not identify themselves as athletes. And that I think that I really want to change that like lexicon. I want you to, I think people hear the word athlete and they think like football or baseball player. And I'm like, no, you're on your bike training for a purpose. Like you're an athlete. And, so treat yourself like that. Like you're a person who is specifically doing a task because you have an outcome goal, then you deserve to have coaching. You deserve to have the best food. You deserve to have rest. And so, kind of, I think when you flip that switch from I'm a mom who holds up the whole world to I'm an athlete and deserve, these things, it really also helps your whole family and your whole community have that transformation.
Talk to me too about for and I don't know. I realize this is just my story and my experience, right?
Yeah.
So other women may have other experiences, but for me, I've always really worked out for the mental health benefit of it because for me, I'm a busybody and I've tried meditating and I'm horrible at meditating, but
Mhm.
I'm great at like active meditating,
Yeah.
right? So like sitting in my meditation corner but like looking through my little meditation cards or like spraying myself in the face with spray or like when I do my really intense yoga sculpt class, like I'm not thinking about anything else for that whole hour except for surviving and I love it. Like for me, like exercising is escaping from the world. I don't know, maybe this is unhealthy, but like I cannot, the reason I have to exercise and move my body is I will have a cranky day like yesterday. I don't know why.
Mhm.
I was just in a bad mood in general. And I was like, it's okay. I'll go to yoga school, right? Went, sweated, cried, lifted
Yeah.
my weights. And afterwards, I really felt great afterwards. And like, it's so crazy that biologically, I remember in grad school as a therapist, right? I'm a I want to say I'm a big fan of medication. I don't think there's anything wrong with medication. But research also shows us that exercise literally for some people can also help us as medication can, right?
Yeah.
It changes our brain chemistry. And so I think for me, I've always seen exercise and being active as like my mental health escape, my meditation, my emotional sanity as a single mom.
Mhm.
Um, and I had someone ask me the other day, like, oh, why do you exercise?
Mhm.
And I think, I don't know. I think it like I guess what are your thoughts on this conversation? And maybe for someone that has not seen it that way, maybe they as a child had body image issues or like exercise became something else except for a mental health respite. What are your thoughts or maybe some advice about that?
Yeah, well, I think first you're totally right. I agree with, movement can be its own meditation because it's grounding you, right? I mean, isn't the point of meditation to like be in the present?
Yeah, and
And
bring you back to your body,
yes,
right? Out of your head.
and sometimes it's like sitting through discomfort. So those are both like basically exercise for a lot of for most of us. So the other thing that I love about what you said was that you're getting out of your mind and into your body, whether you're at yoga class or maybe you're on a bike, right? I really do think of like bike as moving meditation, or we sometimes call it the church of bike, on the
Oh,
weekends.
I
It's like,
love that. I
yeah,
love it. I love
it's
it.
for exactly, because and then you also have the outside benefit of, like I said before, like, you're seeing nature, you're seeing trees,
Ah,
mountains, rivers, water,
and
but
nature
all of
is
those
just so healing and humbling.
exactly, and so it leads towards that stress relief, part of your, I would say, mental health, right? And so we talk about when you're moving, you're really giving your body those feel good. Most people receive that feel good hormone like set,
Yeah.
right? So you're getting that dopamine, you're getting oxytocin, serotonin, and all of those great, beautiful feel good hormones. But I think I agree. Like some people don't, right? And so there is for the folks who are receiving that, there is that almost just positive feedback loop that you wanna keep exercising to get
It's like
back to yourself
addictive, right?
a little bit in a good
In a
way,
good
and,
way,
like
in a positive way.
yeah, in a positive way. But then, one thing taking it one step further is there are studies showing that if you really commit to a morning, and I'm not saying it has to be early morning, but just a movement practice in the morning that can help you kind of rewire your brain to when it comes to making decisions throughout the rest of the day. So that's another reason I talk to my athletes of like, I know it's hard to get out of bed. But if you could get in that 30 minutes in the morning, it's going to make your whole day better and you'll have, already done the workout. So there's definite pros to that. So when you're talking about getting out, and I think I agree with you in that, especially during the COVID times and we were enduring lockdowns and isolation, it was definitely my mental respite more than any other time in the past. Prior to that, I would say I was doing probably because I just love that positive feedback of A, getting the feel good hormones going most of the days, and then B, really seeing because I was racing my bike. So I would see periodically through different weekends and different races, like how I was progressing. And I think that that progress is also that positive feedback loop. So I would continue to want to do the training. And then third, I think I've also, just because I'm ambitious, I always love pushing myself here and there when you're supposed to. It's not every day, but you're pushing yourself to achieve, right? And so maybe I'm out on the bike pushing myself for 2 minutes to see if I can get X amount of watts or X amount of heart rate. And then repeating that to just see like, can I improve my fitness to the next level? And so there's always that little bit of achiever like back there, but it's because I feel so good doing it and I love the freedom of being on a bike. So I think that all kind of wraps together in a way.
Yes, I love that perspective so much. Another question I have for you is I know something that you're passionate about is helping women say yes to adventure late in life, right? And I know you talked a little bit about that, like maybe they have like aging loved ones, maybe they have kids, maybe they are in perimenopause, right? What are some of the biggest challenges you're finding that women are facing when it comes to prioritizing themselves, saying yes to adventure after 40?
Things that are holding people back, I think number one are just how do I say it? Like they just don't know what they don't know necessarily. And so I think we instinctually think that to get faster running, you just run faster, right? Or to get faster cycling, you just go farther or go longer. And we live in this kind of culture of just like go harder, longer, faster, stronger. And I want to say that like most of our, social media kind of reinforces that. Even our, accounts that are meant to kind of track your training, they're still kind of like, applauding you for going harder, stronger, faster, all of these things. And so there, I would say that a lot of women, as we start to age, we can't, go as fast as we were when we were 35 or 40, but we can continue to I want to say to kind of turn our traditional training methods on its side and do what works better for us. But the problem is there really hasn't been that much education and information about it honestly since like 2016. So relatively recently, is any of this even being talked about or studied? And then what I had learned is that it takes on average something like 15 to 20 years for those studies to kind of trickle down into everyday education. So I'm kind of trying to kind of like a hot butter knife through butter, like trying to cut straight through that and reach the people who need it the most, right? And those are women over 40 who are struggling with symptoms like fatigue or brain fog, and what are the other big ones? Like loss of mojo or loss of motivation. Like, so you're an ambitious person, but now you just don't really care that much. Like an apathy. Like there's just a lot going on inside, like because our hormones are going haywire a little bit, they're fluctuating, that I think we just think like, oh, we're old and everything's changing. And I want to put my, kind of a stake in the sand and say, like, you don't have to. Here's a different way that we can change and really work for our own physiology so that you can continue to get stronger. You can say yes to that mountain biking adventure. You can say yes to travel and stay active without the old way of just training yourself into the ground, exhaustion. So I think the problem or the challenge is that a lot of people, A, have never heard of it because they only know one way to do it. And so doing something new for the first time is scary. And so that is really like the big hesitation for people of like, I know how to do this and it's not working for me, but it's the only thing I know and I'm just scared to let it go. I think that people like the devil they know rather than
Yeah.
like
Yep.
letting go and trying something new that might actually be better. So that is number one. And I think number two, we're finally at a point where people recognize that strength training specifically for every woman, not just athletes, every woman needs to strength train over 35. So just start. And that is finally becoming accepted. And people are actually like, oh, yeah, I have been strength training. Like that would be the biggest shift I've seen in the last 5 years. Is it used to be,
Yes.
oh, I know I should. Now it's like most people are. And so that is like, oh, we're finally making headway. That's great. And then third is I just like to ride my bike. And actually, we need to stop just riding your bike and we need to add some structure so that you're not making yourself tired by just riding your bike, but we're actually going a little bit harder, but shorter on some days. And other days, we're going easier, but longer, and really providing that variety so that you get to your adventure and you feel great. You can really push hard on the hills because you're not exhausted all the time. And so that for me is the I want to say like the magic, and you get I had a rider last year who was not new to cycling, but she was new to training. And she's like, and I'm gonna do a 50-day cycling trip from Paris to Istanbul. And I was like, great, let's do it. So going from not training to training to do a 50-day like ride was exciting, and she knew she was a little bit last minute. We only had 16 weeks to really get into it, but what you can do in 16 weeks from not really training to going on a big adventure like that was it still to my mind is just mind blowing. I just am amazed at what women will do and succeed at. So those things I just want to say, I want to help people say yes to more adventures like that.
That is I love that she did that. How beautiful.
Oh yeah, it was really exciting. And there's really I have to say like while she was going through it, it was really not about the training anymore. It was like the mental aspect of how do I handle riding my bike day after day? How do I handle the traffic? How do I handle eating enough? And it was so insightful for me as a coach because I could train somebody to do that, but then it was the rest of it, right?
Yeah.
The real life stuff of it where you just don't know until you've gone through it all. So that was just really inspirational that I could not inspirational, but exciting to me to see that I could positively affect her trip because I'd through all of my racing before in the 15 years before that had it really not I hadn't done a 50-day trip, but I had done all of these experiences, all of these emotions because I had done all of these different races and been in these tight hard places where everything is terrible because you're tired and your body is hungry, right? So being able to talk my riders through that and find some I one of my favorite conversations was today is a day you need to be selfish. Like, eat more, ride by yourself, don't focus on other people because the only person who's going to take care of you is you. And I think it's such an important message that most of us don't get.
I just love this conversation, and I love your approach too of like I feel like what you're really doing is like smashing the patriarchy like one woman at a time, right? Like
Okay.
take
Yeah.
up space, use your voice, prioritize yourself. Like talk to us about that.
Yeah. The same writer, she was like, my favorite thing so far when we were partway through her training, she's like, that you've given me the okay to eat more and take up space. And I was like, yeah, because you're going to do these big events and you can't you know, do it on no energy. So that is exactly, I think, with some of the feedback I get the most was you, encouraged me and in fact insisted that I eat more and I make plans to eat more so that I can fuel myself up these mountains. So taking up more space is a huge theme, I think, for all of us. Another one is like not, I'm going to say like not apologizing for creating boundaries or time for yourself. And that's another one that is really scary to start if you've never done it, especially if your whole career has been built on, I only do, on Wednesdays, I have a rider who's like, on Wednesdays, I just basically work straight through. I don't take breaks. And I was like, that is not allowed. Like OSHA would like to have a word, but like,
Yes.
yeah, can you lock yourself in the bathroom for 5 minutes and take a breath and have a protein shake? So, really finding ways to break down those big walls that people set up for themselves, and acknowledge that like what you're doing is working okay to now, but this isn't getting you to the next place. And so, let's investigate how we can kind of like you said, smashing the patriarchy. How can we create a break where there wasn't one before and help you get your leg up and over the next fence into the next pasture so we can get to the next, up and over the next hill. And so sometimes it is just having somebody to say like, okay, I see what you're facing, but what if you look at it like this? So one of the ways was, yeah, could you lock? I mean, I honestly had a coach ask me, could you lock yourself in the bathroom for 5 minutes and not talk to anyone and just take a minute for yourself. And it was way back because I was opening a gym and I was the first person there in the morning until noon,
Yep.
and that's just way too much people time energy that you are expending without pouring back into yourself. So no wonder I was too exhausted. So that is just an experience that I had had personally that I'm helping my riders like overcome in their daily life so that you can do the 7-day bikepacking trip through Italy, right? So you can train for it. I have a lot of riders who again are holding up their career, holding up their family, expected to come home and make dinner. And I was like, they have services that will make dinner for you. Like, what if you
100%.
did do that?
100% they do.
Yeah. And so finding little ways to kind of smash that, a little bit here and there that feel comfortable enough to do. And that just like opens our eyes, right? We see something from a new perspective and then we're like, what else could I do? So
Yes.
having those conversations one by one by one. I love how you're like, yeah, smashing it one by one.
Yeah, because think about this. Like, if every woman on planet Earth was prioritizing making themselves healthy, physically,
Yeah.
mentally, emotionally, making themselves happy, like we would have a different world, right? Like if we were,
Yeah.
but you're like, it really is the model of like sacrifice, become smaller, deprioritize yourself, right? That
Yep.
obviously we've like made a lot of strides, but I still think we're like miles and miles away. And I
We
think
are.
it really is is, and especially as women that advocate for other women, I think especially our work is to also do the same, right? Number one, to model it, but also so that we
Mhm.
have the energy. And I think it's like catalyzing too and permission giving.
Yes, exactly. 100%. All of that. And um something you said, yeah, like with it's kind of when people are stuck in, and we all get stuck. Like we are human, right? We get in our own ruts and we have our own reasons for having the boundaries and the things that we have the way they have that they're presented now. But just having somebody out there, a coach or an advisor who's looking at you objectively and saying, "Hey, we can get you to this 7-day trip, but I need you to eat consistently throughout the day so that when you get to your training you can perform." And I think the other thing is being able to take up space and say to your boss, "No, I need to have 10 minutes to do X, Y, or Z," is a big scary thing. But once you have that conversation, like, what other conversations can you have? And so I think building up your internal confidence through
Yeah.
things like cycling or dance or external things away from your career, that you can apply that to everything, whether it's your relationships or your job or
Yeah.
your place in your community. And it just takes, like you said, like one or two people to question things, to start modeling what it's like to be a happy, healthy, honestly rich woman,
Yeah.
right? Rich in time, rich in energy, and maybe rich in money. But having that modeled will only help make our communities better. Whether that's your, cycling community, your dance community, or your physical where you live community.
Yeah.
I think we're seeing a lot of that now with people being more bold because we have some political leaders who are starting to like rise to the top, who are questioning and who are saying that the status quo is not enough, right? And that's
Yeah.
emboldening more women to run for office.
Yeah.
And I think that that is kind of the direction. Like, that's what inspires me to make sure that maybe my riders aren't running for office, but they're showing their kids that they're in it to stay healthy for the long term. And I think that that inspiring the next generation to be healthy and stand on their own 2 feet and know what they want, is gonna be really important, as in the next 10 years, honestly, because of where we're standing right now.
It's just the most important. We need more women running for office. We need more value aligned people running for office,
Yeah,
right? And that does come from, like, we'll only have the capacity for that when we are healthy-ish, when we are happy-ish, right? When we have the resources to do it.
exactly, and we feel like we don't have to shrink, right?
Yeah.
And, that is a hard thing to overcome for everyone. I mean, we all have our own, internalized biases and all of that, but I think it's really when you see or help people stand up and say, like, "I'm gonna get stronger and not focus on just shrinking my body, like, I can be strong
Yes.
and get up and over these
Yeah.
hills, like, what else could I do?" And I think that that perspective shift as a cycling coach, I know it's hard to kind of some days realize, or not realize, but it's some days I'm like, "What am I really doing?" But when you can kind of tie those dots back to, well, yeah, but then her kids are gonna see that she's, working on her fitness all the time, and she's not saying yes to everything, and she's not laying down, like, sacrificing her own goals for, X, Y, or Z happening in her life. Like, I think that modeling is so important as we, as just one example, so that then maybe they stand up and go and run for office or become a pivotal person in their community that rallies for change around something. But I think that the only way that we can continue to make change as a society is to one by one, and like choose that we're not going to just do the old way anymore. And what got you here isn't going to get you to where you want to go in the next 5 or 10 years. So, I'm a small part of that, and I love doing it, especially for
I
people who love cycling. But I also love like personal training and strength training, and I think leaning into that is pivotal for women at this age, who are just starting to see, like, oh, my friends, like, because really at like 40 to 50 is where you really, really start to see the divergence of your community that chose to be healthy and your community that didn't. And you're like,
yeah.
I have friends who have osteopenia or who are, have stress fractures all the time because they're either underfueled or they have low bone density for one reason or another. And then you see people who are really prioritizing their health and they don't even look 45, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really fascinating to see the divergence in deciding which way you want to go. And then I always say too, like when we're doing our strength training, I'm like, this is so you can ride when you're in your 90s, or you can continue to live by
Yes.
yourself until you don't want to anymore. But I think that so many people don't understand that your independence is highly dependent on whether you can get off the toilet.
Yes.
I know it's
That like
it's
literally,
so, but
right?
literally, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I love this conversation so much. If people are listening to this and they love to cycle, right? They want to return to their love for cycling. How do they follow you online?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at marissa.axel. It's 2 L's. And I have a website called actionfitnessandcoaching.com. And then I have a free Facebook group, Facebook community, mainly women over 40, but I have a bunch of men in there too. But we talk about everything to do with cycling. And I love talking about wins and hearing what people are up to and what great adventures they're doing. And that's in our Facebook community called the Confident Cycling Collective. So it's free. You can join us. And yeah, and if you're really serious about cycling, you could always hop on a 20-minute ride faster call with me, and I can send that link below.
Yes, I'll make sure we link all of that in the show notes for you. And any final words, advice?
I mean, I think just say yes to more adventures and then decide how you're going to get there. Because I love how you said, like, we're all going to die eventually anyway. So
Yes.
invest that time and energy now. And so you can enjoy like the life in your years now. And then hopefully avoid having to do all of the investment later in terms of hospital stays and medication and sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think too, I mean, I'm not quite 40, I'm 37, but you bet your booty I'm listening to podcasts about menopause like it's my full-time job because like I think it's right around this time like 35 where you realize like I'm aging. Like
Yeah.
I'm aging, my parents are aging, like aging just becomes a reality. And I think in some ways it's a gift because like you said, like we really should have been prioritize our health and ourselves all along. But I
Yeah.
think when you're 35 or 40 or 45 or 50, like it no longer becomes a nice to have. It really is a need to have to prioritize our health.
Exactly. And that's physical and mental health. Like it is so and what I love is the moment we're in right now where we all realize it and we're talking about it.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the important part is we're talking about it. So,
So important. Okay, make sure that you actually everyone should go follow Marissa.
yeah.
Whether you are a cyclist or not. I love honestly, I don't even like cycling, but I every single post you write, I love to read. And
Thank
I'm just so inspired by I think it is that inner like you said like ever since you were a child, just that inner sense of adventure and ambition and
you.
like speaking up for what's right. And you're just an amazing leader, Marissa, and I so admire you.
Thank you so much. Well, likewise, I appreciate it as well. Being it,
Amazing.
I say being in your group and then also, yeah, all of your posts, like always inspiring me to be like, oh yeah, I need to stand up and ask for what I want. Right. And
Yes.
it's been really life changing. So thank you.
You are a joy to support. Thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging out today. Please hit that subscribe button so you can make sure to stay updated anytime a new episode drops. And I would love for you to join me in my free Facebook community. It's called The Heart Centered Entrepreneur. We discuss the podcast episodes. I regularly go live and do free trainings. And you may even meet your newest biz bestie. So you can join at heartcenteredcommunity.com. It's absolutely free. And I cannot wait to see you in there.